One example of how I differentiate instruction in my classroom is a unit that I've used with so many different grade levels. It can stand alone, and it can also be incorporated with novels such as The Great Gatsby, Animal Farm, Brave New World, 1984. It's very versatile. It focuses on propaganda and media literacy, getting our students to see beyond the label, which often as teenagers is such a problem. I want students to think about how products get on their table. Why do they accept some brand of clothing and mock other brands? What compels us to feel this way? So what I do is I start with looking at print ads in magazines, because students are very exposed to these ads, and they buy the products frequently. So we looked at how do companies market their products? What kind of strategies do they use? And we start listing these strategies and identifying them with actual advertisements, using celebrities or using slogans, using certain images and colors to grab attention. And students start to get the idea that this isn't just about the product and what the product will actually do. This is about getting my attention. So then I start talking to them about all the different products that are out there and the way these products are pitched to us in billboards, in commercials, in newspaper and even radio blurbs that really grab your attention for a minute and make you want to buy that product. So students then go out and find an example of any of the types of strategies in any medium that they are interested in. So some of them take a picture of a billboard. Some of them write down a quote from a commercial that they saw, last night while watching a program on TV. Or they'll bring in the actual packaging for a product, and we start talking about not the product, but the way the product is pitched. The next step is to really break down so that, again, every student, regardless of their skill, can access this curriculum. Break down as a whole group so that everyone feels safe. No one feels like they're being called upon to do this on their own and to have these analytical skills right up front. I have students start in the whole group forum so that they feel really comfortable volunteering if they want to, or just listening to others in the beginning. And we take what the students have brought in and we hold it up and we talk about it. What does this look like? What does it actually contain? And why would you feel compelled to purchase it? And we brainstorm some ideas on the board and have graphic organizers to start writing down some of these terms that are kind of the academic language that wouldn't necessarily come naturally, but that they're going to later use in their analytical writing. And we do this as a whole group forum for a little while, and then we hone into smaller group forums where the students are partnered up, or maybe groups of 3, and we rotate what the students have brought in, things that have not yet been discussed as a whole class. And again, it's what the students have brought in, it's what they're comfortable with, but now we're upping the accountability a notch in a small group forum. And I go around and I share my ideas and I hear what they have to say, and we really focus on what are these products trying to tell students, and getting the students to say this in their own words. The next step of the process is to start to build in a little bit more accountability and look at what is the language that we've come up with in analyzing these products, and how can the students begin to make this language their own and use the analytical skills that maybe they didn't have in the very beginning of this unit. Once the students have had the opportunity to really become familiar with the language of analyzing media literacy and propaganda, then the accountability is bumped up a level, and we start talking about individual analysis and writing. So we have already a brainstorm list of ideas, words, phrases that students can use, and we can start to put together our own analysis. First, I give them an example. I provide the media because sometimes students will bring in multiple examples of, say, Britney Spears advertising Pepsi. And we need to get beyond that very basic level of propaganda and get into some of the deeper levels. So I provide some examples and some models of what that analysis would look like. We write together a sample paragraph analyzing that piece of media. And then students rotate examples of the propaganda throughout the classroom, and they individually analyze just in a couple sentences what's going on and how they're being brought into the product, and we start sharing those so that they're doing it individually, but it's not a test yet, it's just sharing some ideas. We talk about these, we take a couple examples, and we model how to make them into more formal writing. And then at this point, students have talked about it as a whole group, they've talked about it as a small group, they've tried it on their own with some feedback from their peers and from me, and we're ready now to write on our own using the different skills that have been developed along the way, and write something that I really feel responsible for, but I've been scaffolded a lot over the past couple of days. And at that point, students are able to be assessed what have they really gained from this experience.